Hey guys, and welcome unbug. I hope it's not super echoey down here. Sounds kind of echoey down here. um, so ignore the background area in a bit of a move. So we'll be setting up in a new location here soon. So you guys will start seeing stuff like that. But for today, we're heading right back into the DieselPunk Project. Probably next week's video, we'll probably try and do a project balance update on character design and things like that. But for right now, showing off the environments or set dressing that I've started to work on for the DieselPunk Project. Not really working on I guess it is more set dressing than it is environmental design because I'm creating a lot of the pieces that are going to be seen in the locations, and then a lot of that actual environment building and things like that will happen more in the engine for this game, just with how it's designed and how it's made to work. So for this one, I have up here just collections that are level one, two, three, four, all the way up to level 5. And what we currently have here is level 1 starts us out in just the battlefield slash no man's land. So we've got some mortar holes, some barbed wire fencing, trenches, and then these little tank barricades or roadblocks that are going to be in the way for the ground level troops and stuff. Even though we're up in the sky, there's still got to be something on the ground to kind of add to that location, add to that environment. And they're going to be all like simple little things. They're not going to be these very detailed, very intricate things down low, because I want most of the focus to be up high with the player and the ships that are shooting at them and things like that. I don't want my player to be focused on looking too much down at the bottom of the screen and looking at all the pretty environment down there. It's like, no, that needs to be just kind of something in the background for the player's eyes so that they feel immersed. And that's like a lot of the things when you're an environment artist is that you're really focused on immersion and being immersed in a game and getting that immersion quality to be right there for the player. So how I look at immersion is how well does the environment and the game and the sound and everything that goes into creating a video game keeps the player focused on the screen. Like if the immersion is off at any point and the player gets distracted and starts focusing on something else or starts to realize they're in a video game. What I want to do is I want to make sure that the player is immersed into the game so that they are playing my game. I don't want them to feel distracted or not feel involved in what they're doing. I want them to constantly feel involved in the game itself. And a lot of times people will get immersion mixed up with they'll start calling it like game addiction and things like that, and it's not trying to get the player addicted to just play the game. It's to get the player feeling like they are immersed in the world, that they're focused on what they're doing, that they're playing this game and they're enjoying it. But it's okay that the games may break that immersion every now and then, only because you're breaking the immersion so that the player realizes, hey, take a drink of water, hey, go to the bathroom or something like that. You gotta make sure that your game's not gonna make a person forget all about life and not take care of themselves, because then you just lost a person that's gonna play your video game. But it's a lot of interesting things that a lot of people sit there and I think they confuse people who are addicted to video games and can't get enough of playing games or get too involved in the story or the world that they're in, that they only become that one thing. And a lot of the times game addiction is kind of more of a, it's not like an actual thing. Game addiction is kind of a thing where somebody is trying to use a video game to help improve something else in their life that they don't like, or that there is something else going on. There's a lot of psychological things that you can go into that topic, but immersion is not addiction. Immersion is getting the player to feel involved and immersed and what is the word I'm like indebted, not indebted, like involved in the game. You want to make them feel involved in the game. You want to make them feel focused on what they're doing in the game, that you want to keep their attention in the game and make them feel like they're actually in this world, that they're in this location, that they can forget about the stresses and worries that they have and be placed into a totally different reality that they can enjoy and have fun with. That would be immersion. And addiction is using immersion to help dilute or ignore or procrastinate something very important in your life. Things like that. So, a little bit of weird gaming information and stuff like that. My mind gets sidetracked by stuff like that, but it's something fun to talk about, something that I feel like a lot of people need to learn about, and it's something I learned about and studied a lot when I was creating video games. Is I was learning the difference between addictions, what does a video game to you? Is video games going to cause somebody to be violent? No, yes, this, that, and just studying what games actually do to the human brain, which is actually a lot of interesting things. It naturally, video games, when you're playing them, even a violent game actually reduces your stress levels, anger, violent tendencies, all that stuff. So video games can actually decrease the amount of anger and hate and stress that you have. Whereas a lot of people think these violent video games will increase all those. It does absolutely the different effect. It'll decrease all that inside of your body and it will actually help relax you for the day. So interesting stuff. But let's get back into the DieselPunk project. So this would just be level one, and in level one, the player will probably see it from this perspective, so they'll be able to know what these are. And even this, I'll even, when I show it in the game, I'll probably rotate it so that it can be seen more often from different angles and just have fun with it. And the player will just see this tractor cross the bottom of their screen, which won't distract them too much. I'll just have to add information into the background, which is going to be landscaping and more environmental details farther from the eye, which takes no time at all. I'll show you one of the levels is just the ground and it's just mountains and grass and things like that. And that's just creating a whole bunch of terrains and scaling them up and down in the game engine with different textures that fit their scales and things like that. Then we have level 2 where we end up going into a air base, and so you have a control tower, cones. Now these are not to proper scale or anything like that. That's actually an old asset that I don't need because I adjust the design a little bit and things like that. That was supposed to be a catwalk that would be across the top of the screen when the player enters a hangar area and things like that. And I was like, no, I don't like that idea. That needs to be scrapped. I need to figure out something else or improve upon what I've already got. And like I said, I don't want too much cluttering the background. So I thought I already have enough that's going to clutter the background and draw attention from the player's eye. So you have a control tower, traffic cones. This is going to be one of those handheld beacon hand signal devices just lying on the floor. We've got some tanks filled with gas, some hoses for diesel, gas cans, all that type of stuff will be scattered across the airfield, as well as actual enemy ships will be scattered across. So I thought, okay, with all that, that's already enough information for a level 2 that the player will get the sense of, oh, this is an air base, and they'll know where they are, and it's not going to really distract them too much. And like I said, this is all set dressing, so I haven't actually created the airbase, but I've created the pieces that are going to go onto it, and then I just need to model out that actual landscape, that actual location, so that it can be placed in the game engine. And then this is just me looking at creating landscapes for the environments and locations, since one of the locations is literally just like a canyon like this. I was just modeling it in a smaller scale, and then I'm just gonna blow it up real big, and there we go. That's that location, and all I've got to do is just take rocks and trees from actually Project Balance and throw them into here, and that'll look really nice. So some cool stuff there. So some Project Balance environment pieces will be used over here, which is actually a very common practice to do in video games, is to take old assets from older games, adjust them or recreate them. Well, not recreate them, adjust them, change their like topologies and things like that to make them look like they belong in this world, and then you're done. You have assets from an old game that you've either updated or just changed or modified in some way, so that you as the environment artist have less work that you need to do on creating assets, and you can focus on creating the new unique modular assets and not have to worry too much about these older assets or these assets that are so generic that you can just create them or just use old stuff constantly. And as long as you just use it the right way, you've got to adjust it, you've got to make edits to it no matter what, depending on the project that you're working on. So stuff like that. And then over here we have a little factory slash army base. So it's going to be like an army warehouse kind of base, I think. So you have like this factory arm, some piping, factory treadmills, tread lines, roads, tents. You can't see the doorway, but now you can as I move the camera around. Since none of these have textures on them, you can't really see some of the fuller detail, but you can get what they're going to be. This is going to be some garages. This is a little army tent that I can stretch, squeeze, squash, fiddle it, maneuver it in multiple different ways that it ends up being multiple different objects. So it's a modular piece and it can become many different things. And then over here are some modular pieces to create an entire city landscape in the background. Since it's a 2D game, I only need one side of the building, and the other side of the building will just be a flatter top, or we'll have these pieces on top of it, because it's going to be this marble city. And the marble city is going to be kind of like a lot of, oh, there is a city in, I think it's in like India or Israel, that has a lot of white and gold buildings that are either marble and gold or granite and gold, things like that. So it looks very ornate and garish, I think. At least I think it's a little garish. But I think it's going to look really great. It's going to be something amazing, and it's going to really distinguish that, oh, this is the enemy's capital city of iron and gold, or concrete and gold, and all sorts of things like that. And I thought for DieselPunk, why not just do marble and gold or granite and gold? Because I think that would be a very cool thing to have in the background, and it would really differentiate from all the other locations you've been. So like back here, you're in no man's lands, and it's this dirty, mucky, gross filled war zone. And then you go over here and you've got the sky and industrial sections. Then you start flying through the landscape to then get to the military bases just outside the capital's location. And it just kind of, I feel like it helps kind of like push the player through locations in the way that makes them feel like they are actually progressing to one location to a next, and that they're actually getting the sense of the world that they are playing through. They get to see how the war is on the front lines and how the war looks in the sky, then on into the ground as you start to lead yourself into the military bases nearby the capitals and homes of the people, to the point where you blow up the actual capital city and defeat the enemies and things like that. And it just, I feel like it just gets this great gradual increase from one location to the next and helps build upon the scale of this entire world. And it looks, I'm hoping it'll look really pretty too, you know? Like, I just hope people like my games. I hope people like these videos and enjoy what I put into them and what I think about and what I focus about as an environment artist, 3D artist, modeler, prop artist, all these things that I've kind of just developed over the time, that I've realized that environment artists are kind of supposed to be these jack of all trades kind of people, because when an environment artist is creating an environment, you have to really think about how does the character look in there? How's the lighting going to work? And how does this object look from this location and this location and this location? And it all depends on what kind of game you're making. If it's a 2D game, then you have less need to focus on every angle. But if you are doing a 3D game, you have to focus on every single angle and make sure everything looks right. So then you end up being this jack of all trades, making sure your texture is right here, there, and this and that. And it's just, it's a lot, but it's always fun. I enjoy it so much. I enjoy creating environments. I enjoy creating video games in general. So hopefully this project gets moving along faster and faster day by day. It's been going at a really good pace so far, so hopefully this is done in months versus years, like Project Balance. So with that said, guys, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my Facebook page to stay up to date on everything that happens in the production of these games. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.